discuss symbiotic nitrogen fixation by certain bacteria. Now, symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria are mainly Rhizobium and Frankia. Rhizobium, it fixes nitrogen with the roots of leguminous plants, plants like sweet pea, sweet clover, garden pea, alfalfa, etc. On the other hand, there is this Frankia, which is Actinomycetes, and it will be allowing nitrogen fixation with non-leguminous plant roots like Alnus. Okay. Now, both will be performing the nitrogen fixation by their distinct mechanism. In today's class, we are going to mainly discuss regarding nitrogen fixation done by Rhizobium in details. Okay. So, first thing, Rhizobium is a free-living soil bacteria. In the free-living state, it is a aerobic bacteria. Okay. But then, it possesses the enzyme nitrogenase, which will allow it to fix nitrogen. But the problem is that nitrogenase enzyme, it is going to be functional only in anaerobic condition. In oxygen containing surrounding, nitrogenase cannot function. So hence nitrogen fixation cannot occur. Alright, so in that case, it is very much compulsory for the Rhizobium to first attain an anaerobic condition. Only in the anaerobic condition, the nitrogen fixation by Rhizobium can occur. That's why nitrogenase, even if Rhizobium possesses nitrogenase, it cannot fix nitrogen until and unless it forms a symbiotic association with the leguminous plant roots, because it is the plant roots which will provide the anaerobic condition required, and only then the nitrogen fixation can begin. Okay, are you clear about it? Fine. Rhizobium is a free-living aerobic bacteria. It has the enzyme nitrogenase for nitrogen fixation, but the enzyme is only functional in anaerobic condition. That's why the bacteria will first form an association with the leguminous plant roots, and first it will have to gain the anaerobic condition in which nitrogen fixation can begin. That's why Rhizobium alone cannot fix nitrogen. It will only be able to fix nitrogen in symbiotic association with leguminous plants. Understood this? Clear? Now, let's see what is the mechanism of nitrogen fixation by bacteria, Rhizobium. To remember, Rhizobium, the bacteria, whenever it will fix nitrogen in the leguminous plant roots, it will form certain spherical outgrowths in the in the roots of the plants, which are called nodules. So how are these nodules formed? That is what let us see now. First, nodule formation by Rhizobium. So first of all, the plant roots, the leguminous plant roots, they will be attracting the bacteria towards it. How? By releasing certain kind of chemical attractants which will attract the bacteria, like flavonoids or betaines. Likewise, certain chemicals will be released continuously from the roots of the leguminous plants, due to which the bacteria will be attracted and they will start accumulating near the tip of the root here. Okay. So see, root here, and the bacteria have started gathering here due to the chemical attractants released by the plants. Next, now the bacteria will start releasing something that's called node factor. Okay, this node factor, whenever will be released by the bacteria, the root hair will start to curl up, and this curled tip of the root hair is known as the hook. So now, due to the node factor being released, a hook will be formed by the root hair. Okay, eventually there will be a partial breakdown of the cell wall of the root hair as well, so that the bacteria will be now, it will start entering inside the root hair cells. Okay, so see, in the next step what is happening, the bacteria, it is continuously going to rapidly divide, it is going to multiply, and by continuous multiplication it is also going to enter inside the root hair. So because of that, a continuous chain of bacterial cells will be seen or will be observed inside the root hair. So this continuous chain of cells of bacteria is called infectious thread formation. So the third step is when infectious thread will be seen to occur inside the root hair. and it will start entering the root cortical zone. Now, inside the root cortical cell, this is what is going to happen. Inside the root cortical cells, the bacteria would stop dividing first, and then they will gather in clusters which will get surrounded by a host membrane. Okay, this membrane is called peribacteroid membrane, and this unit of the bacteria plus membrane together is called bacteroids. So inside the root cortical cells, many bacteroids will be formed. Okay, and now you see what will happen. Surrounding the bacteroids, a pink color membrane will be formed, which will be made up of a pink color pigment that's called leg hemoglobin. Okay, it is similar to hemoglobin, but it has 10 times more affinity for oxygen. Okay, so that's why the whole cytosol of the cortical cells will be containing now this pink color pigment that's called leg hemoglobin. Leg hemoglobin will act as oxygen scavenger. So now that leg hemoglobin will surround each of these bacteroids, as oxygen will enter inside the cell, it will be entrapped in the cytosol itself. Okay, it will be entrapped in the cytosol itself by the leg hemoglobin, so that inside of these bacteroids will completely become anaerobic. They will act as now anaerobic environments, microanaerobic environments. So in this microanaerobic environments, the nitrogenous present inside the bacteria will finally get activated. As it will get activated, atmospheric nitrogen would finally be able to bind to the enzyme, and it can be readily converted into ammonia. That's how biological nitrogen fixation would begin. Okay, nitrogen would hold the atmospheric nitrogen that would diffuse inside the cell and convert it into ammonia. Okay, one atmospheric nitrogen will be converted into 2 molecules of ammonia. Is that clear? That's how nitrogen fixation would occur by the help of rhizobium. Why it's happening? Because of leg hemoglobin. Understood? So now finally, as nitrogen fixation begins continuously, the root cortical cells would start to expand. Why? Because there will be a continuous cell division going on in the root cortical zone. Now for this continuous cell division, 2 things would be responsible. First, the root cortical cells will be secreting auxin continuously, whereas the bacteria will be continuously secreting cytokinin. Under the action of auxin and cytokinin, finally the root cortical cells will expand and there will be continuous cell division happening in the root cortical zone. Due to that, finally a tumorous projection or a spherical projection would arise in the leguminous plant roots, which will look like small spherical structures known as nodules. So that's how continuous cell division, a cluster of cells together would form a mature nodule in the plant roots. Alright, so this is the mechanism of nodule formation by rhizobium. Alright, now mechanism of nitrogen fixation. First of all, the nitrogenous enzyme consists of the substrate binding site. It consists of substrate binding site where the dinitrogen, the atmospheric nitrogen can come and bind. Okay. So as it binds, it would now start getting reduced to ammonia. See, in each step of reduction, one hydrogen will come and bind with the nitrogen. Okay. As you know, atmospheric nitrogen, that is dinitrogen, has triple covalent bond in between the 2 nitrogen atoms, isn't it? So every time a hydrogen comes and binds with the nitrogen, one bond will break here, will cleave here. Okay. So see, in the first step, one hydrogen binds to it, one bond is cleaved, and hence what is formed is N2H2, diamide. Okay. Another step of reduction. Now another hydrogen will come and bind with the nitrogen, breaking another bond, so that what is formed finally here is N2H4, that is hydrazine. And at last, when finally the third hydrogen comes and binds with the nitrogen, the last and the final covalent bond will break down, giving rise to 2 molecules of ammonia. So one nitrogen is converted successfully into 2 molecules of ammonia, and that would be a huge energy consuming step. So this is the step, the overall step all about here. Nitrogen plus 8 electrons plus 8 protons and 16 ATP together would finally be releasing 2 ammonium atoms, 2 ammonia will finally produce 2 ammonia, 1 hydrogen, 16 ADP and 16 inorganic phosphate. Okay, so that means total energy expenditure in the whole step is 16 ATP or 8 ATP per molecule of ammonia. Is that clear? All of you have understood this, I suppose, right? So this is how nitrogen fixation is done by rhizobium, and this is how finally when nitrogen fixation begins, 1 atmospheric nitrogen is converted into 2 molecules of ammonia. Clear? Now finally, what will happen to that ammonia? Ammonia is being released, okay? Gaseous ammonia is being released. Now what? Now finally what will happen? The ammonium gas that is being released, it will be first protonated in the soil to form ammonium ion. Okay? Ammonium ion can be taken up or absorbed by the plant roots. Okay? Or else even if nitrate is taken up by the plant roots, you know very well inside the plant body it is converted to ammonia, right? Because ammonia is the state in which finally nitrogen or ammonia is the state which can be used to form nitrogenous compounds, right? But then problem is that ammonia is highly toxic. Once it is formed inside the plant body or once it is absorbed inside the plant body, it has to be immediately converted to some non-toxic form. Okay, otherwise it can be very much damaging to the cells. The cells cannot allow ammonia to accumulate in them and remain there forever or for a long time. So that's why the ammonia has to be immediately converted to some non-toxic forms, and hence there are certain kind of processes that would immediately begin inside the plant body as ammonia would enter inside. Okay, so that would be referred as the fate of ammonia. Okay, what would happen once ammonia is formed or it enters inside the cell of the plant. So first step or first reaction that begins to convert the ammonia into some non-toxic form or the primary amino acid is called reductive amination. In reductive amination, alpha ketoglutarate acid plus ammonium ion and NADPH together under the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase will form the primary amino acid glutamate or glutamic acid. 1 water molecule and NADP will be released. Okay, so in this step, first you are seeing that the ammonium ion is going to be reduced into the primary amino acid, that is glutamic acid or glutamate. Alright, clear? Now, next is transamination. Using this glutamate, various other forms of amino acids can also be formed. Okay, various other amino acids can also be formed by the process called transamination. In transamination, mainly 2 types of acids would participate. One is a keto acid, one is a amino acid. Keto acid, as you know, will have a keto group. Amino acid has an amino group. So they would simply exchange the groups. The amino group would go to the keto acid, keto group will go to the amino acid. It's going to be as simple as that. So because in this particular reaction, the amino group is getting transferred, that's why we will call the enzymes involved to be aminotransferase enzyme. Okay? The enzymes are here known as aminotransferase enzymes. Okay? So see here, glutamic acid plus oxaloacetic acid, amino acid and keto acid. Together will form a alpha ketoglutarate acid and aspartic acid. So using this amino acid, another amino acid has been successfully formed by the enzyme glutamate aspartate aminotransferase. Okay, so using transamination reaction, glutamic acid is used to make other forms of amino acid. Alright. Now, the next thing that can that is another process that happens is amidation. See, you know very well that inside the plant body, the nitrogen, when it is taken up, or it is first, in whichever forms it's taken up, it is converted to ammonia. Ammonia is highly toxic. So it is used to immediately, and it is converted to amino acid, right? Amino acid will be then used to make proteins, and then finally many other nitrogenous compounds. But the problem is that nitrogen, if it is stored in excess of nitrogen, if it has to be stored in the plant body, if it is stored in the form of amino acid, that's not a possibility because it's toxic. And if it is to be stored in the form of amino acid, that is also not a possibility because amino acid have lower content of nitrogen. So using ammonia and amino acid, a particular substance has to be formed which has higher content of nitrogen, in which the excess nitrogen can be stored in the plant body. Understood this? And this particular substances or compounds which are formed, the next process is amidation. Now what is amidation? Amidation means process of formation of amides. Now what are amides? See, amides are a combination of ammonia and amino acid. Ammonia, it has higher content of nitrogen, but it is toxic. Amino acid, on the other hand, it is harmless, non-toxic, but it has very low content of nitrogen. So using both, a substance or a compound is formed called amide. Amides have very high content of nitrogen. Okay, that's how the excess nitrogen in the plant body is stored in the form of amides. Okay, understood this? So see here, the process of amide formation is called amidation. See, they are organic compounds derived from amino acid in which hydroxyl component of carboxyl group of one amino acid is replaced by another amino acid. Now see, they are organic compounds derived from amino acids in which hydroxyl component of carboxyl group is replaced by another amino acid or amino group, sorry. So amides have two amino groups. Okay, they have two amino groups. So the most important amides which are formed inside the plant body are glutamine and asparagine. They are found in the plant body, or they are found to be a component of the protein along with amino acids. Alright. Now, amides mainly perform two functions. One is storage of excess nitrogen, another is transport. The transport of amides mostly occurs by the help of xylem. It is transported via xylem. Now note, another important part for you to remember here is that the nodules of certain legumes like soybean would export certain nitrogen also in the form of ureates, that is degraded urea. These components also have, or these compounds also have, high nitrogen to carbon ratio. Alright. So this is all about the fate of ammonia as well. I hope all of you are clear about it. In the next class, we'll start with another chapter, that is photosynthesis. Thank you.